This video wouldn't be possible without the help and support of Brunswick Darkroom. Testing. Retina. Kodak Retina. Retina. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's that time of day again where I've made another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about a camera that's quite unique that I picked up in New Zealand while I was living there for over a year. And that camera, which you might have guessed by the title, is the Kodak Retina 3C. The Kodak Retina 3C, an East German made rangefinder from the 1950s. It has a beautiful patina, it's fully mechanical and is built like a brick shit. Now I'm going to get straight into it. There are two variations of this camera, the big C and the little C. And while the lens is exactly the same, a Schneider 50mm f2, the rangefinder on the big C has three different rangefinder patches, a 50mm, a 35mm, and a 90mm. Whereas the one that I bought, the small C, or little C as they call it, only has a 50mm rangefinder patch, which is fine, because it only has a 50mm lens on it. This camera is also a folder, which is a first for me. I've never used a folding camera before, but it's an absolute joy. There are a few quirks, a few wins, and a couple of things I don't like about this camera, but we'll unpack that later in the video. I also made some prints with the photographic enlarger and some light sensitive paper at Brunswick Darkroom. I'm really happy with how these turned out, and we'll unpack that later as well. But for now, here's a brief outline of what this camera is all about. When I first pulled the trigger on buying this camera, I didn't really have high expectations. In fact, the opposite can be said. After the first roll, I was absolutely blown away by the image quality. It's hard to think that a camera from 1954 can produce such great results. Now, when I was living in New Zealand, I had a full-time job managing a cafe. So, while I did buy this camera as a wicked souvenir, I also shot a project called the 52-week project, which you could probably guess what that's about. Well, if you can't guess, I'll tell you. I shot 52 rolls of film that year, and a large number of them were on this camera. I was mostly shooting street photography and scenes I found interesting in everyday life. Just like a bad smell, I began taking this camera everywhere with me. The more I shot, the more I loved the results. Kodak Gold 200, Kodak 5222, also known as Black and White XX, and Kodak Motion Picture 250D cinema film were the three film stocks that I mostly used in this camera. I'd be lying if I said this was my first one, because I did buy one on Facebook Marketplace. However, the film advance was broken, or maybe I broke it. I'm not sure. Anyway, the point is, it didn't work. This model that I bought has been completely rebuilt by a professional and works like a dream. So, what are my thoughts about this camera? Let's take a look at some images. Okay, here's an example of how I think the lens really shines compared to modern glass. Take a look at that beautiful glowing effect in the highlights. Here's another example where the highlights just look incredible. I'm not exactly sure how it achieves this, but it looks like there's some sort of mist filter. I guess that's what people mean when they talk about vintage charm. I feel there's a subtle softness that's present, but not frustratingly so. Some of the subtleties produced in the out of focus highlights and out of focus areas of this lens are incredible, and in my opinion achieves a painterly-like, creamy bokeh effect. Here's another example which renders really beautifully on BWXX. A true reminder that 70-year-old gear can still hold up. Now this has got to be one of my favorite photos I've taken with this camera so far. The color saturation of Motion Picture 250D, paired with the way the lighting is hitting the shed, is a real winner. One of my favorite things about this camera is that the winder is on the bottom. That sound, it's so satisfying. Love it. While this camera does have a light meter built into it, I believe it's an old selenium light meter, and they are known to fail. My one works, but I usually just use a handheld meter or a little hot shoe meter. This one's a Kex KM1, which you might have seen in some of my other videos. The manual frame counter is a bit of a trip. You have to reset the counter each time you load a new roll of film, otherwise it won't fire. The rangefinder is a little bit small, but you get used to it. But mine's been cleaned and recalibrated, so it's super bright and very accurate. Another noteworthy thing about this camera is that there are no felt light seals like in current SLRs. It's just metal on metal, and I haven't had a light leak yet, and the exposure coupling on the lens can take a little bit getting used to. One thing I will say about this camera is it's got an exposure locking system where the shutter and the aperture, once you've set them, you can actually just change the pair of them. So like, for example, f11 at 250, if you want to shoot 500, you just change it, and it's exactly the same exposure, but it's locked. So 500 at f8 is the same as f11 at 250, which is the same as 16 at 125th. And that's really cool because you can just play with your depth of field without worrying about exposure. While these cameras were designed as a user-friendly and budget-friendly option, at the time they were retailing for about $150 to $190 US. And when adjusted for inflation in 2026, that's the cost of around about $2,200 US. And lastly, this is probably going to be my hiking companion. I've often struggled when I go hiking to shoot film in a way that's comfortable and quick. This might just be the answer moving forward. Look how flat that is. That's awesome. So, where did I land after shooting this camera for over a year? While newer cameras are designed to make photography faster and easier, a camera like this can really help you slow down and be more present while you're shooting. This might not be the camera that's perfect for everything, if there is even such a thing. I've been absolutely blown away by how well this camera performs. This camera's also helped with me being able to just carry something on me at all times, without particularly getting in the way like an SLR does. And just like most things in life, you're allowed to use something because you enjoy it. And that's what this camera is for me. A pure enjoyment. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Here are some darkroom prints I made earlier this week. Okay, so here's the shot you might have seen earlier. It's printed in the darkroom. This is resin coated paper, so not fiber based, which is technically not archival quality, but that's okay. It's a nice print nevertheless. I was mentioning earlier, these are really nice glowing highlights. It's kind of got that vintage sort of, I keep using the word vintage, but just the look of, I guess, memory. That's kind of what I think of when I see these kinds of imperfections. So yeah, really happy with this. I perhaps could have printed just a touch darker in the foreground here. It's a little flat, but upgrading the contrast filter to a, I think this is on a 3.5, but maybe a 4 down here might be a little better. But you know, room for improvement, there's nothing wrong with that. This one here is a little more simple, I guess. Minimal is the right word. But this is actually on a disc golf course, but this little lone tree in the center here looks really cool. It's kind of alone, you know, foreshadowed by the mountain range along the back and I guess the hill in the front. I might, for the next print, try and pull a bit more contrast out of these skies. The clouds are just looking a little bit flat, but all in all, really happy with this print as well. It's quite subtle, and I think in a black frame that will look really nice. So hopefully this has helped you think about maybe picking up a film camera again, because to be honest, that's what this channel is all about. My hope is that more people watch my videos, get inspired, and go out and shoot film. This is the first time using a folding camera for me. Let me know in the comments if you used a folding camera. What were your thoughts? Did you like them? Were they annoying? So again, I hope you enjoyed the images. Thanks for watching. Happy light. And as always, tell your friends you love them.